Peace, it's Farmer Courtney here, coming to you on a Friday right after study group. If you've ever seen these books, let me get the title right. Self-Improvement is the Basis for Community Development. Study guides 1 through 9, right? You can get it at finalcall.com. There's study guides 10 through 18, and then there's also study guide 19, which I can send you digitally if you want to join me for a study group in the UK. But I don't know where to get the book. In print, it was a gift. So the reason why I have all these books out, right? So I had just gotten off the Zoom call, and just feeling just very blessed by being able to have such high level conversation, right? And yesterday I had said something about that I love the deep end, like even if I'm not ready for it. And that isn't how I approach life, right? Like, so I'm a mother of 6, and I've brought up many times before that having my eye on the risk in every situation and just sort of assessing what's going on is really how I roll. So I'm not like, oh, just go for it, be out there, right? But there's something about high level conversations and just observing a real depth that has always been something that I've been attracted to, because probably I think ignorance is very risky. And so even though I don't know and I can't necessarily participate in certain conversations, I really appreciate being able to bear witness to that they're going on and to be able to learn something from the conversation. So, you know, the study group on Friday is a really drip kind of way to, you know, parse out every sentence that when we read on our own, we might just kind of like, you know, skim through and think like, oh, I read that. You know, you could read the book in a couple days and just feel like, okay, what's next? And so study group is a way to really parse out each sentence, each word, meaning, talk about the overall meaning, like how it applies to the world, talk about how it truly applies on a self level to ourselves and our own actions, our own contributions. And so, you know, I had been kind of observing, right, the deep end of the spiritual instruction from the Nation of Islam for close to 20 years before I was instructed to get this book, Closing the Gap. Pardon me that it's reversed. I'll make a note of that for next time. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan wrote this. Well, he spoke this interview, and then Jibril Muhammad wrote it into book form. And the subtitle is Interviews of the Heart, Mind, and Soul of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I always recommend that people check out the 52-part lecture series, The Time and What Must Be Done. If you're auditory and you just really want to meet the minister, you want to weed out, it's springtime, right? It's a great time to just weed out, nip everything before it really takes root, right? Weed out all that slander, get that out of your mind. If you're wondering, why has it been such a slanderous attack on him who has no record of doing any harm or anything, just a verbal teaching, a mental, contribution to people, and then action of transformation, of improving, making communities better places through self-development, through actual programs that improve, right? So why has the attack been so sustained for so long? So if you like auditory, or if you need auditory because you are busy, right? That was where, when I came across that lecture series, it was like meeting the minister all over again. I was coming in from doing chickens yesterday, and I was thinking of this image of the old cassette tape that I had of Love and Duty. And that's when this deep end metaphor came to me of just thinking like, I had no idea what I was listening to back in, who was a baby then? I'm trying to think, back in 2002, or maybe I don't have the dates wrong on that, or correct on that. I'd have to look, right? But these things are all well documented. But back then, in the early 2000s, I'll just say that, I had no idea what I was really hearing, right? I was raised in just as we would say, or I would say, in Babylon, right? Typical, just middle class Caucasian upbringing where everything was just so, and that was just what I was raised with, right? So nobody even talked about God to me. Literally, nobody gave me more than my parents. I don't think ever even gave an hour-long discussion of like inner development, spirituality, connection with God. I didn't have any of that. But and then as far as people outside of that, I got kicked out of they wanted me to do my Holy Communion. Being recovering Catholics, we didn't so my parents didn't actually believe any of it, obviously, because they weren't actually practicing. They didn't go to church regularly. They didn't go to confession. But because they still had family ties, we would go, Easter, Christmas, and what are the other, I'm like blanking. We would go with my grandmother whenever she was visiting, because my grandmother was actually a practicing Catholic. And, it was just so ingrained from them, from Catholic school, Catholic high school, and Catholic college that, they just kind of repeated it. So this Holy Communion thing, I guess this is when they still tried. I don't know, how old are you when you receive your Holy Communion? Maybe it was like 8 or something. I don't even remember. But I knew that people got nice dresses for Holy Communion. They got parties, right? Like you had a celebration. You were the honoree of a party. You got presents because your family, Lord, I'm out here and these bees are fighting. But anyway, I'm not starting over. So you got presents, you got, a special day and a pretty dress. And so I thought, okay, I've always wondered what it looks like up on the stage at church. And so I agreed to do the whole CCD thing. What does that even stand for? I don't know. Catholic something education. And so I managed to pull off my first Holy Communion. I always wondered, what did the wafer taste like? What did they do? So I went through the whole situation. My mother made me a beautiful dress, complete with satin covered buttons, like 20 of them that went down the front. I had the party. I got, my first Polaroid camera, a doll that is still in my attic today that all of my children played with, that I loved my whole childhood because I was an only child and I always loved babies. I still love babies. So a doll, and all of our friends and family and everybody that I love so much in my life came that day. And so I have a lot of good memories of the day, right? And I was genuinely happy in the pictures, but no clue what any of it was about because my family was not actually practicing Catholic. It was kind of like being in a play for the day. I didn't really understand the significance of what any of it meant. And so anyway, all that to say is just, I didn't actually have any sort of instruction whatsoever in spiritual matters of any significance. So when I first was introduced in a very fiery way to the theology of the Nation of Islam, I had never heard anything like it, but I knew enough to realize that it was really a risk that I hadn't heard anything like that, because he really sounded like he knew what he was talking about, because he was bringing up a lot of issues. And when I say he, I'm speaking about Dr. Khalid Muhammad. He was bringing up a lot of issues that, again, I didn't know that much about, right? I couldn't be the speaker on any of them, but I knew that they weren't resolved, that they were kind of like this never-ending spiral of contention and disagreement because God was not brought into the conversation. There was no authoritative voice on what needed to be set right, what needed to be addressed in order for there to be clarity and moving on. And so I was really fascinated. So all that to say is that, the deep end is a beautiful and majestic place to observe and to learn from and to study with. And so Fridays for me are definitely holy days. It's a blessing for me to be permitted to enter into the Zoom study group session and to go all the way with this technology, right, to London, to England, to be amongst the Nation of Islam there and to get instruction. And so if you are interested in this kind of content and you wonder about like the books or things that I show, feel free to leave a comment below that you want the book list that I put together of the books I wish I had read 20 years ago. And I'll send it to you. And if you'd like to come to study group, you can also, leave a comment and or send me a message, and I'll send you the invite, because, it's the more people that attend, the more we discuss things, the better we all are from learning together and contributing. So this is day 2 of my posts for 67 days of consistency and giving thanks and gratitude for the work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his 67 years of faithful teaching and service in the Nation of Islam. All right, until next time, peace.